Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us on today's webinar, Accessibility in 2025, from Compliance to Competitive Edge. My name is Michael Halpin. I'm the Head of Marketing here at RecyteMe. I will be the host for today's session. I'm a white male, 5'11", brown spiky hair, and I'm wearing a green shirt. We've got an exciting agenda lined up to explore how digital accessibility is evolved in 2025 and why it's more important more than ever, not just from compliance, but as a key drive for innovation, inclusion, and business success. Before we dive into today's session, let's run through a round of introductions of our amazing panel. Laura, should we start with you?
I'm Laura Wright. I'm the Disability Access Officer at Wolverhampton Wanderers Football Club. I'm 5'2", female, and have long brown straight hair.
Avneet?
Hi everyone, I'm Avneet Jagpal, Accessibility Specialist here at RecyteMe. I'm 5'7", I'm an Asian female with medium black hair, and I'm wearing a cream cardigan.
Sarah?
Hello, I'm Sarah Cannon, a Senior Business Analyst at Mace. I'm also one of the founding members of our Enabled Employee Resource Group, which provides information, support and action relating to disability and neurodiversity. I'm wearing a white top with a blue pattern, a necklace with my name on, and a sunflower lanyard indicating that I have hidden disabilities. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm on the autism spectrum with a tendency to talk quickly. So I'm going to ask anyone to wave at me if I'm going too fast.
Thank you, Sarah.
Hi everyone, I'm Kim Brosnan. I'm the Chief People Officer here at Utilita. I'm 5'4", I've got a brown bob and I'm wearing a red shirt and I am white female. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you everyone. Before we jump into today's topic, for those who are unfamiliar with RecyteMe, we're actually on an accessibility journey ourselves. We're inspired by our CEO, Ross Linnett, his personal mission and lived experience to create and truly inclusive digital online experiences. And here at Recyte, we achieve this by providing a suite of accessibility tools and services, including our accessibility checker and our assistive toolbar to help organizations create compliance websites and, more importantly, enhance user experience for everyone. We do this with a wide range of amazing organizations, like the guests today on our panel, along with KFC, British Gas, Coca-Cola, and we continue to break down barriers and empower people every day online. So let's kick off with our first question. And something we get asked a lot is, how do I build a business case for accessibility? Clearly, it's great to see so many people here wanting to know more about accessibility, and the passion is there to see. But how do we get others inside our organizations to want to be able to drive change? So let's hear from Kim on how Utilita are doing just this. Thank you.
I think I'll probably start sort of just explaining a bit more about the Utilita culture. So we are a business that provides energy, and we've come out of the smart meter and tech environment in terms of prepayment. So it's really important to us that our sort of products are, as inclusive as possible. So we've got about 800,000 customers, and they're from, varying walks of life, varying needs. So it's always been important to us that, whatever our product offering is, it's as inclusive as possible. We've got a very strong sort of culture built around our values, which is fairness, smart, and sustainability. So when we started to think about, our business case, for us, it was very much like, it's part of what we are. It's part of what we do as a business. And a few years back, we worked with an external organisation called Disability Confident, and they sort of definitely had more expertise, in this sort of area than we did. And we looked at a varying range of things about how we could become more inclusive from, for our employees. And we set up, network groups. We made lots of changes in terms of, how we support our people internally. But one of the big things was, our customer base and how we could encourage them and just make life just easier for them to contact us. which is where the Recite Me sort of partnership grew. So for us, it was very much about, what is the organisation you want to be? That's a good thing. But, we are a business, so we also have to talk in terms of, what is the benefit? So I think if anybody's building a business case, it's really important to think about that customer experience. If you've got customers that sort of stay with you, they retain for long periods of time, that's a clear business benefit in terms of ROI. And also, if you've got customers that find it easy to work with you and to engage with you, then they're more likely to sort of speak to their friends and families and recommend you as a brand, to purchase in the future. So for me, and I think, the way that we did it, it was very much about building on our sort of culture and about what felt right for us as a business, but then putting those parameters around, well, is there a business case here? What will we get back from it? And that business, I wasn't part of that team, but that is, what was done. And, it's the normal sort of financial things around, what the costs are, what the benefits are. And really that was it. I mean, when you're ever doing anything like this, you've got to sort of think about when it's tech, you've got to think about, does it integrate into your systems, communications and all that sort of thing. But, that I don't think was the challenge. That, I think the overarching thing is, what do you want to be? And then how can you really improve things for customers? That was the key thing. And I think most business leaders want to achieve that. So I think in that respect, you're pushing on an open door. Yeah, I think that was covered most of the key points, really.
That's right. So basically building on sort of that internal sort of want to help people, and then the business benefit being the ripple effect of that reputation and that sort of feeling of Utilita helping other companies, and then that will obviously in turn create new business, but also better experiences for people internally and externally.
Absolutely, yeah. And we get good feedback on the product, and we've started to sort of look at other sort of assistive technologies. So I think for us, this has been a good platform for us to sort of build on that. So we will be looking to do more in the future.
Thank you very much, Kim. I think, like you said, I think it's not just, it's part of a stepping stone of multiple things that businesses need to do, isn't it? Like I said right at the start, Recite Me is still on a journey. I think every business does that. And like you said, you got to take one step forward. You got customers internally, and you got staff internally, customers externally, different platforms, different ways to communicate. Recite may be one of them functions to support, but it goes beyond that, but helps people start that journey. That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Kim, for that insight. Another big reason, or prioritising accessibility 2025 for many organisations will be the European Accessibility Act, or the EAA, that people may have heard of. This actually comes into force June of this year. But a lot of people are, with being new, and it feels like it's sprung the scene, if you like, across the internet. What is this? Who does it affect? What do people need to do? So we have our in-house accessibility expert, Avneet, who's going to share all on how businesses can get ahead for this for June.
Let's talk a little bit about what you need to know to make your websites and digital spaces EAA compliant. And like Michael said there, so this regulation is coming into force in June 2025, which is coming close by. So I'll delve a little bit deeper who needs to be compliant within this act and what services need to be compliant. Could you move on to the next slide for me, please, Paige? Thank you. So the European Accessibility Act, so basically it's to ensure that everybody and anybody has equal digital access. So be it anybody that has a situational impairment, a physical impairment, we need to ensure any product, service or website that you're delivering is of accessible nature. And you need to make sure that if you're within the European region, so you might be in Spain, you might be in France, you need to make sure that you're accommodating accordingly to this act. Now, what this act would cater for essentially is for it will remove all of the digital barriers that somebody might be facing whilst trying to access your service. And in a nutshell, it's going to boost inclusivity. So you're catering to everybody, which is the end user, so they can access your service in the full means. And lastly, it's going to be the legal requirement for businesses and services that are in the European territory to be EAA compliant. Like we spoke before, so next slide for me, please. So this act is going to go into effect of June 2025. So as you're all aware that we've got a few months which we can take step-by-step actions till then in order to make sure that your services and products are compliant by that the deadline that you'll be facing. Next slide for me, please. So now you may question, what's the risk of non-compliance? Obviously, you're not going to be meeting WCAG guidelines. Firstly and foremostly, you're going to have legal penalties. If your service is not compliant with 2025, you might be you're not going to have a legal website. You won't be able to, the users won't be able to access it in the right means. Secondly, it's going to lead to brand reputation damage. So obviously, a user that's coming to visit your site, if it's not accessible, they're not going to be able to make the full use of that service. For example, if you're trying to fill out a form on a website, you won't be able to do that if it's not in the right means. Obviously, it's going to cause in consumer and employer dissatisfaction. Again, so that's in all, we're trying to make sure everything that we're delivering is accessible for the end user. And that are the key non-compliance risks for the EAA Act. Next slide for me, please. So now you may question what you need to do in order to be compliant to the EAA regulation. So the main key foundation here is, and it's always been, is WCAG. Now, WCAG stands for your Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. Now, these are the regulations that have been provided by W3C, and they ideally ensure that everything you're delivering, like I've been saying, is of an accessible nature. Now, these WCAG guidelines, obviously, to meet EAA, you need to be WCAG 2.2 AA compliant. And WCAG comes in its 3 levels, so which is your level A, AA, and AAA. Now, level A is your basic standard, which basically means it's got your 30 success criteria, and this is something you must do in order to make sure that you're compliant with EAA. Now, you move on to the next standard, which is your AA, which ensures that obviously this is something that you have to do in order to also be compliant. And AAA is enhancements that you could do to your website if you wanted to be compliant. And now if we talk about 3 quick, easy WCAG fixes that you could do to start off with, which we often see is the biggest bugbear of when you're trying to make accessible services, is making sure that your images have alt text on all of your websites. And this is ideal for and crucial for a screen reader. If you're not set the correct alt text, the screen reader is not going to be able to correctly understand your image. Color contrast is another one that we often come across. So making sure that your color contrast is correct, be it for your text contrast or be it for your non-text contrast, ensuring that's obviously to the minimum standard. And lastly, something that we more come across is page structure. So basically meaning your headings are correct, your landmarks are correct, your navigation is correct, you've got the correct skip to main content link. So all in all, this is something that you could start off with. We also provide a basic accessibility checklist, which we can give you guidance on as a good starting point if you were to sort of take yourself on the EAA compliance journey. Next slide for me, please. I'll pass over to Laura.
Thank you very much, Avneet. So a whistle-stop tour of the EAA there. Like Avneet said, we've got plenty of stuff on our website if you want to head over and have a little look at that. But it is coming in June, and there's plenty of information there to have a little look. So as Kim was saying about the importance of ROI against accessibility, and with like new regulations coming in, of course, many businesses will ask about the ROI on accessibility. which is great because we have Laura from Wolves here with us, or Wolverhampton Wanderers, sorry. I'm a football fan, so you always abbreviate to Wolves, to tell us about the wider impact on accessibility for their fans.
Hi, everybody. Can I have the first slide, please? Thank you. So I'm just going to talk to you about the diversity of Wolverhampton, first of all. Wolverhampton has a richly diverse fan base, and it reflects the the city's multicultural community that it's got, and the global reach that Wolves have got as well. As a lot of clubs have global reach, we also do. Now, our fans come from a variety of ethnic groups, socio-economic groups, and different age groups. It makes up a lot of the season ticket fan base. And we also have a significant following of supporters with disabilities. Out of my 222,500 season ticket holders, I've got 450 registered season ticket holders with a disability and nearly 200 members. So that number grows constantly. I work on a person-centered approach, which is really important, and I've made strides to get to know these supporters, and I think that's a really important need for any project that you do. We have initiatives such as accessible ticketing, sensory rooms, and inclusive supporter groups as well, to ensure that every Wolves fan, no matter what their background or ability, feels welcome and valued. Next slide, please. So our journey. I like to take a holistic approach to accessibility and cover every touch point of the fan's journey. So it's not just about looking at tickets or coming to the actual game. I want to look at engagement online and beyond that. And we have different initiatives which include our website. So we use Recite Me on our website for digital accessibility. This ensures full accessibility, and it offers tools such as screen readers, language translation, which is really important actually because a lot of our fan base lives abroad and speak a different language. And it has text customization as well. So for anyone who likes different colors or different size writing, or anyone with dyslexia, this can help a lot. We also have ticketing communication initiatives, and most of my work, in fact, not all of my work, is in easy read format as well. This helps supporters from a variety of backgrounds. It's not just those people with a neurodivergent need, but easy read covers a lot. And we have dedicated accessibility support for purchasing tickets. So I've got a group of fan services advisors who are all trained in accessibility before the ticket purchase process is in place. This helps people with Ticketmaster. It helps people before they actually buy online. We can guide them on where to sit and what to expect. Our matchday experience is the pinnacle of what we want to achieve. So our stadium features accessible seating. It has sensory rooms, breakout rooms, audio description commentary for visually impaired fans. And I've actually found this has stemmed to a lot of non-visual impairment as well. So people who just like to follow the game in more depth. And we have trained stewards, which is really important. It gives people confidence to go to stewards to ask for help and enjoy their match day. So we also cover transport and facilities, so accessible parking on site, accessible drop-offs and inclusive signage. This all makes the journey a lot smoother as well. And fan engagement. So this is quite an important part of our Premier League standards, and we work closely with disabled supporter groups. So Wolves have got a DSA who conduct regular feedback sessions to continuously improve accessibility. And they are the voice of our club when it comes to disability. So I listen to them and take on what they need. Next slide, please. Now, ROI, as it was mentioned by Michael earlier, prioritising accessibility, it's not just the right thing to do, it also delivers tangible benefits. So I'm just going to go through a quick of those benefits for you. So we have seen an increased fan engagement and loyalty. By making Wolves more inclusive, we've built stronger connections with a wider range of fans, leading to a higher retention and satisfaction. We've also got expanded revenue streams. So a more accessible experience attracts new fans. It increases match day attendance, it drives merchandise sales, and for those who might have felt excluded. So even though our merchandise is run by another company, I've set up inclusive till station in there. We've got different inclusive initiatives within our store. We have a stronger brand reputation, which is ideal. Being a leader in accessibility strengthens that club's reputation. It attracts sponsorship and partnerships with brands that show that we are fully inclusive and we are compliant. So, compliance and future proofing is so important. So, investing in accessibility ensures we meet legal requirements, but more importantly, we want to future proof our club and its evolving needs. If anyone's got any questions about any return of investment or anything like that, any accessibility, you can just ask. Thank you.
I think, that was fantastic. I think when listening to you there, a few things resonated around how it boils down to a user experience. We all want to have an experience that's much easier and more comfortable. And when you're looking at people maybe with disabilities or everyone, and you look at other things like the electric toothbrush, Alexa, they were all initially built for people to help people with disabilities, but we all benefit. And I think putting some fundamental things at Wolves at different parts of the journey helps everyone, then in turn naturally creates this, this inclusive or this more engaging brand that then drives the four things that we can see in the screen there. So I think that's fantastic to hear that from yourself, that doing that is actually making a real life difference. That's awesome. Thank you very much for that. So with that, helping fans or customers, it's also equally important to prioritize accessibility within your organization, a positive impact that it can have on staff. And Sarah from Mace is going to share what Mace are doing to support their staff internally and what success looks like for them.
Thank you. First of all, apologies for the text contrast. I've just noticed that my slides haven't quite come through with the colour combination that was intended. However, I will carry on. So Mace, I think we're slightly different from other companies that have joined on this webinar. We don't sell directly to consumers. We sell to other businesses. And most people won't have heard of Mace, but you will know the projects that we've worked on and our clients, such as the London Eye and the Shard. And our clients include Tiffany, Microsoft, the UK government, IKEA, and other global organisations. We work around the world, and we have 7,500 people who work for us. Next slide, please. So our culture, we have a purpose, priorities, values and behaviours that underpin what we do. Within that, the ones that particularly resonate for the introduction of Recite Me are about creating opportunity for our people to excel and integrity, so always doing the right thing. Next slide, please. We have a mission, which is to be the most inclusive employer of choice in our industry. We actively want people to come and work for us and be in an environment where they feel safe to be themselves. So we have a number of employee resource groups. We have policies and plans in place, including trans policy, a menopause support policy, a workplace adjustments policy. And we have conversations with job seekers, with clients, with our communities that we work in, with our competitors, and every day with our people. Next slide, please. So we had a goal in 2020, and that was to make internal information more accessible for our colleagues. So of our 7,500 people, around 2,600 of them are based outside of the UK. So that means that a lot of people in and outside the UK have English as a second language. When we wanted to introduce Recite Me, we focused on the language element primarily. So we looked at how we could increase our client reach, how we improve employee engagement, how we can make it easier for our employees to read their legal obligations and the laws, and how we could make the most of the global talent pool. Next slide, please. So in 2021, we implemented Recite Me, and we added it to a number of our resources. So externally, it is on our website and our careers hubs. And then internally, we have it on our intranet and our SharePoint sites. So it works with our management systems and processes. We have it on the onboarding hub. We have it for news. And we also have it for internal opportunities, again, putting in place everything that's needed for our people to succeed. Next slide, please. So since implementing Recite Me, we have also signed up to a number of other initiatives, all of which support our aim to be the most inclusive employer of choice. So on the left-hand side, we have initiatives that were directly started by Enabled at Mace. So Even Break is a recruitment site that specifically targets employees with disability and neurodiversity. We're a member of Neurodiversity in Business. We sponsor an award with Genius Within. And we have recently become a disability confident employer, which is stage 2 of the journey. Within our other employee resource groups and Mace as a whole, we have managed to gain places, actually, the employee index for social mobility. This year we're now a top 50 employer, which is even better. We've signed up to actively bring in people who are ex-military and care leavers. So everything that we have done to start the inclusivity conversation has been continued. Next slide, please. So we put Recite Me in place as a solution for everyone. So just like Michael said earlier, with Alexa and electric toothbrushes being designed for people with disabilities initially, all of these items were designed for those with accessibility or medical needs. So even down to Coca-Cola, the Oxo Good Grips range, all of these things were originally designed for disability, and now we all use them every day. Next slide, please. So we set out to make internal information more accessible for our colleagues. That was our primary aim. And we wanted to increase our client reach, improve engagement, convey our obligations, and maximise our talent pool. And did we do what we set out to do? Well, we have last year more than 4,700 toolbar launches, nearly 30,000 pages made inclusive. Our most frequently selected language for the website is Danish. For our SharePoint site is Sinhalese, which is people in Sri Lanka. And for the careers site, it's Vietnamese, which shows that we most definitely have expanded our global reach with having the Recite Me toolbar. Next slide, please. So when we put the business case together back in 2020, we looked at more than the features that just brought Recite Me to our attention initially. So we looked at it as an accessibility toolbar, but we knew that we needed to know more than that. We had to include more than that in order to build a robust business case. So we focused on the language element. So supporting our growth, we looked at cost saving, and in the background, we always knew this was the right thing to do. And having an accessibility toolbar supports so many of our other objectives. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you very much, Sarah. Much appreciate the big insight there into Mace and the benefit of not just Recite Me, but also that kickstart all the other initiatives that Mace are doing to become, the most diverse organisation for staff and for their customers within your industry. It was fantastic to hear. I can see people asking questions, which is fantastic. We have one more section, which is now the practical steps. So we've heard about business case, we've heard how it helps staff and customers. But what are the practical steps that everyone can take for accessibility success? So before we jump into questions, Nita is going to go through a sort of an 8-point, as you can see, an 8-point sort of roadmap, if you like, of what you can do to start your journey with accessibility.
Thank you, Michael. So the first key point there is you can deploy the assistive toolbar. So what the toolbar would ensure is that you're providing the correct inclusivity for the end users. So it will give the end user a more personalized experience. You can change the font as the way you like. You can sort of change the color background and make sure the color contrast is correct. The second step is setting up the correct accessibility statement and policy for your organization. As you know, obviously the EAA comes into play in June 2025. You need to ensure that you have a correct accessibility policy set up for the whole year, which shows your roadmap and shows what direction you want to take your organization at the end of this year. The accessibility statement would be a depiction of what your current accessibility status is. It will mention in there what current tools and technologies you're using. For example, you'll mention that you're using the toolbar on there and how you're trying to ensure the accessibility of your services. Thirdly, is conducting an automated scan, which you can do by using the accessibility checker. What that would do is tell you what the current compliancy status of your website is in order to meet EAA. So it will give you a set of issues and how you need to fix them issues, provide you the correct recommendations, and give you how you need to ensure that you're compliant towards WCAG. Fourth is basically making sure and benchmarking what WCAG conformance level you're trying to achieve. But recommended, like I said before, for EAA is WCAG 2.2 AA, and trying to mention that on your accessibility policy is crucial. And number 5 is assess identified issues. So obviously working closely with your development teams and your product owners, making sure what remediation plans you can put into place. And so sort of what are the key issues that you should be tackling first from an accessibility perspective. You can follow through with the basic accessibility checklist. So looking at color contrast, heading structure, etc. And number 6 is obviously prioritizing those issues. I know when you might run the checker, you might come across thousands of issues, but it's making sure how you prioritize them into discrete chunks so that you're making sure that you're compliant with EAA rather than fixing everything at once. So we like to say it's a journey, so take it step by step. And then number 7, assign and delegate staff. So obviously have a dedicated team. So you would have a dedicated developer working on the accessibility issues, have a dedicated tester who's going to be working on correlation with your developer. Make sure you work closely with your team managers. Make sure everybody is part of that journey as opposed to just one person being on that journey. So you're working together closely and you're trying to achieve your EAA compliancy. And lastly, obviously outline a sustainable remediation plan, or how we like to say an accessibility roadmap for the year. So you might be working on a quarterly basis, however your team might be working. Just make sure accessibility is the forefront of everything, especially with regulations coming up, and just making sure that you're working from the start. And I assure you it will be a smooth journey if you think of it from the start rather than as your last thought. And I'll pass back to Michael.
Thank you very much, Avneet. Yeah, so we help organisations create roadmaps, like Avneet said. After this webinar, we will send everyone an email with some nice sort of freebie assets that can help them digest what everyone said and hopefully action the next steps to become more compliant. Before we head over to questions, we like to provide the last little bit, even more value, if you like, for everyone. And that's a takeaway point from our speakers today. So if we'll go around the panel and provide one little thing that people can take away with them to hopefully put into action. Who wants to go first? Laura?
Yeah, I'll go first. I just want people to think about the client base. Who are they? Where are they? What do they need? It's really important to understand who are using your services. And it may be that you're in a multi-million-dollar company or something, and it's quite hard to do that. But getting to know the majority of the users and what they need is really, really important. So start researching because it's really good for you to know.
Thank you, Laura. Sarah?
My takeaway would be, when putting together a business case, look at all the possible benefits of implementation. If you've got something that's really robust, it's much more likely that it will be a smooth journey to getting it signed off and to getting it implemented and then seeing the benefits more quickly.
Kim?
I think it would be to sort of keep an eye out on, the evolving technologies that are available, because, they're becoming more cost effective now. And I think the ideal is to try and make it a level playing field, rather than, adjustments for people. It should be that everyone can access everything all the time, rather than things having to be specially done for certain groups. So that would be, the journey that I'd love us all to be on, really.
And Avneet?
All I'd like to say is basically I can understand accessibility. When you think about it, it can be an overwhelming topic, obviously with a lot of regulations and laws coming into picture. All we'd like to say is start early, start in small chunks, just take it step by step, make sure each team member is involved, make sure you train the right team members, just making sure that accessibility is always a first thought rather than an afterthought.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. And we do have lots of questions, so I know conscious for time as well. So I appreciate everyone staying on the webinar here to the end. We'll answer a few questions, and the rest can be collected in a sort of follow-up document. One for Sarah. What are the benefits of hiring diverse candidates?
Well, the benefits are well documented. So the more diversity in your workforce, the more creativity and innovation, because you've got lots of people with different perspectives coming together. There's also a global skills shortage at the moment. So by having a diverse workforce and making it easier for anyone to join our particular company, we make it easier to recruit people from any background, and we're actively recruiting from the disabled community and the neurodiverse community. I myself fit into both communities, so I'm very much in favour of people with disability and neurodiversity being able to find employment. It's a section that's been woefully overlooked, and we make great employees. So why wouldn't we want a more diverse workforce?
I agree, Sarah. I think I'm dyslexic myself, and I've only ever had 2 jobs. I'm very loyal, and you hear that a lot of people who are neurodivergent and disabled, that you put 110% and more into the employer, whatever you do, and hence the business benefits of that type of employer. Hannah mentions, what's the best resources to use to view WCAG and suggestions to implement your website? Avneet's mentioned on this call around our product, the accessibility checker. One part of the checker of this product is that you can scan your website, you can identify issues, and we will show you how to fix that issue on what part of your website in a nutshell. So, and then that can be from code copying over, or it can be a deep dive into exactly why and how to fix it. And that's one part of the accessibility checker: identification and support on how to fix that issue on your website to become compliant of that specific error. One for maybe Avneet. What countries does the EEA apply to? I'm based in the UK and we aren't part of the EU anymore. So I think this is an important one to say. It's not just part of the EU, it's actually handed over to Avneet.
No worries. Yeah, thank you for your question. So basically, currently the EAA applies to 27 countries. And obviously, based on your question, you said that you're based in the UK, but it does matter. So even if you're trading in the European region, so you might be selling products and services, for example, in Spain, you still need to ensure that those products and services that you're delivering are of accessible nature. So even though you might be in the UK, but we still need to ensure that you still would be needing to meet EAA. Hope that helps answer your question.
Yeah, I agree. If you're selling to Europe, you also need to be compliant, essentially. That's your products and services need to be accessible to that audience that are in the EU. There's a few questions about the last ones about the assistive toolbar. Please feel free to drop us a message through our website at any time. What we have here is there any tools to help users who are new to the assistive toolbar, to help them see what works the best for them? We do have the user guide. We do have some in-depth blogs on our website. And there is some preset color options to help with that contrast, which is, as Avneet said, one of the sort of biggest issues when it comes to Wicked or user experience is the color contrast. So we've got some sort of set examples within the toolbar, and also the text element as well is easy to identify. The cost of the toolbar all depends on users and the size of your organization. It's one that unfortunately marketing and accessibility specialists don't really get involved in, so it's best to give the website our company an email, and the team will be more than happy to help you with that. So yeah, I think that's all the questions. Massive thank you from me and Recite Me. It's been great to hear from all the panelists and get that feedback as well of how you can start your accessibility journey. And I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Recite Me, believing in accessibility for all.